I was supposed to be finishing a home network project today, but life and my garage door opener had other plans. Last night at midnight, I found myself right here in this very location, in my underwear, frantically tugging the garage door disconnect as my garage door opener had become possessed and opening and closing on itself. For any of my neighbors that saw me last night, I'm sorry, and/or you're welcome. Let's make it a one-time show only though. Future Badger here. Disregard the opener you saw. Most of my projects are more of a journey than a straight shot to my destination. There are a lot of times I've got a rock solid plan and then halfway through decide, you know what, I'm not exactly happy with the direction it's going. This is one of those times. So bear with me and we'll get back on track here in a minute. Let's see what happens next.
Before we can even think about the new setup, this old overhead unit has got to come down. First, and most importantly, I made sure to unplug the power so that there are no surprises. With the power killed, I pulled the emergency release cord to disconnect the trolley from the door arm. Next, I grabbed a socket and unbolted the main motor unit from the punched angle iron dropping down from the ceiling. Once the back end was free, I moved to the front to disconnect the rail from the header bracket above the door. That connection is just held in place by a standard clevis pin and cotter pin. With those pulled, the entire assembly drops right down. Speaking of heroes in their underwear, while turning wrenches on this build, I've been listening to the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobooks. It might not be classic literature, but Matt Dinneman does an incredible job with character building, and I am officially hooked. The narration is also top tier with some of the absolute best voiced acting I have ever heard, courtesy of Jeff Hayes. Alright, back to the install. This right here is the exact moment the life leaves my eyes a little bit, as I look at this setup and realize a traditional overhead unit just isn't what I want for my garage anymore.
I'm making really good progress. I'm at the point where I'm about to attach this to the struts, and I've decided I don't want this. I was on the fence for getting a jack screw type opener, and when I got to this point and see how low this thing hangs, that's what I'm going to do. So, shifting gears. Now we're installing a jack screw.
Before we move on, we need to deal with the last remnants of the old overhead unit. It's time to take down that old punched angle iron from the ceiling with extreme prejudice.
Battery, sensors, I think that's a light that comes with it. Hardware, one opener, wall opener, some brackets, and the big board.
Now that I've finally committed to the wall mount setup, we can make some real progress. After the unboxing, the first step is attaching the mounting collar to the motor using the pre-installed bolts. I wanted the mounting surface to be perfectly flush with the existing framing, so I grabbed my oscillating multi-tool, cut out a section of drywall, and secured a piece of 2x6 blocking directly to the studs. Looking back, this might have been a bit of overkill. The mounting bracket bolts at the bottom of the opener are really just there to handle the torque and keep the motor body from spinning while it turns the torsion shaft. But hey, adding the blocking wasn't hard, and it gives me a little extra peace of mind. With that prepped, I loosely attached the mounting bracket to the opener, slid the entire unit onto the torsion shaft, and tightened down the collar bolts to lock it in place. Next, I grab a level to make sure the motor housing is sitting perfectly plumb. Once everything is aligned, I pre-drill a couple of holes into the 2x6 blocking and drive in the lag screws to secure the bracket to the wall. Finally, I go back and fully tighten the bolts connecting the mounting bracket to the opener itself, locking the whole assembly in place. Next up is the emergency release cord. I thread it through the handle and tie it off using my expert and slightly dated Boy Scout knot tying skills. To give it a clean finish, I keep the nylon from fraying over time. I just quickly melt the cut end with a lighter.
All right, time for a little safety and security. Got to install the automatic door lock. I'm going to apply this little template. I'm going to drill some holes. Let's do it.
the mechanical side of the install officially wrapped up, it's time to tackle the wiring. After peeling off the protective film, I plug in the wiring harness for the automatic door lock. Once that deadbolt is hooked up, I move right along to routing the low voltage wire for the safety reversing sensors. The kit comes with a set of insulated wire staples. I carefully tap these in along the framing to secure the low voltage wire, routing it neatly all the way back to the motor unit while making sure not to pinch the casing anywhere along the run. Rocking the hat cam for these next steps means we are getting a lot of POV footage. Honestly, watching this back in the edit, it immediately reminds me of a true cinematic masterpiece with a legendary POV sequence. That is, of course, the 2005 movie Doom. Seriously, Karl Urban can absolutely play any role. But instead of fighting demons on Mars, I'm just trying to terminate this wiring job.
I don't know about you, but every project I do always has a hiccup or two. The supplied wire from the garage door opener to the switch on the wall was not long enough for what I wanted to do. I want to run it along the baseboards and leave the ceiling free and clear. So what I did is I picked up 100 feet of 22 doorbell wire, and this should do the trick. Let's get it wired up.
Next up is routing the bell wire across the garage to where the new wall control will sit, right next to the entry door to the house. I'll admit, the exposed wire run doesn't look incredible right now, but the long-term plan is to install some baseboard trim to completely hide all of this. For now, I'm just keeping things tidy by tacking it down with low-voltage cable clips every 2 feet or so. Installing the multi-function wall control is about as straightforward as it gets. First, I pre-drill a couple of pilot holes and tap in the drywall linkers. Next, I strip back a tiny bit of the insulation and connect the 2 bell wire leads to the screw terminals on the back of the panel. Once those connections are solid, I just drive the mounting screws into the anchors to secure the whole unit cleanly to the wall. Probably tell there was a little bit of trial and error to get me to this point, so it looks like I've got some drywall patching and a little bit of paint touch-up in my near future. Because moving to a jackshaft opener means eliminating that central motor unit, we also lose the built-in overhead lights. Fortunately, this Chamberlain kit includes a standalone remote LED work light. The setup is super convenient. It plugs directly into the existing ceiling receptacle that powered the old opener. Since I already know there's a ceiling joist right there from the old angle iron, mounting the bracket is a quick job with a couple of wood screws. One of the best features of this system is that the light doesn't just activate when the door rolls up. The new wall control panel has a built-in motion sensor, so the light automatically kicks on the second I walk into the garage. And just like that, we have a working door. But before I can officially call this installation finished, I need to run a 2x4 safety reversal test. I lay a scrap piece of 2x4 flat on the floor directly in the door's path to check the downward force limits. You want to make sure the door instantly reverses the second it makes contact with the wood, proving the safety limits are perfectly dialed in and the system is safe to use. A quick safety note here. You might have noticed I'm temporarily operating the new opener with an extension cord. Extension cords are not a safe, long-term power solution for a heavy draw appliance like this. Just so you know, since filming, I've moved a proper electrical outlet over to the ceiling right above the unit so it plugs directly into the wall.
All right, it's up, and so far I've got no regrets. So what does a wall mount give me that my top mount didn't? One, so far, it doesn't seem to be haunted. Two, got the lock here. That's something that my old one didn't have. Had a manual lock, but this one's automatic. Every time the garage door goes down, that lock engages. So that gives me a little bit more peace of mind. Three, this is a smart garage door. So if I'm sitting in bed at midnight and wondering if I left the garage door open, I can pull out the app and take a look and avoid having to come down here in my underwear. Four, battery backup. It says you can open and close this 10 times without it being plugged into power. So in case there's a power outage, I can still have access to the garage. Five, increased overhead space. When I shut off the garage door, my wife asked if I added any more lights. Other than the small light that comes with the opener, it's just that the removal of all of the overhead components of the overhead garage door let more light come through. So that is one part of having the overhead space. And two, it allows me to do a high open garage door if I decide to in the future, which is one of the reasons why I left all the extra wires. It also gives me the ability to put storage up above the door if that's something I want to do, if I decide not to raise the garage door. So I have some more options. I know on my other garage door for the single bay, when I do this in the future, I am going to raise that garage door because I need more room for cabinets. That's a future project, hopefully one that I can plan as opposed to ad hoc like this. And six, this opener is compatible with Amazon Smart Key. So if you're one of those people that trust our corporate overlords, you can give them access to the garage door, so when you have a delivery, the delivery driver can come in, the garage door will open, and they can put their deliveries inside the garage.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
I feel pretty confident in my neighborhood. I haven't heard any reports of anybody having their Amazon packages stolen, so it's not something I'm interested in right now. So for the time being, that is a hard no for me. Last thing, wall mount versus the top mount. Since I had the opportunity to almost fully mount the top mount before I changed directions, the wall mount is so much easier to mount. There are 2 bolts into the wall, 2 bolts that attach to the garage door opener, and then 2 bolts that attach the garage door opener to your jack shaft. That's it. You don't have to worry about the angles of the rail coming from above the garage door to the opener and attaching to the header at the proper angle, and you don't have to worry about all that. Much simpler to attach this, but it comes at a cost. This is considerably more expensive than your overhead options. I have no regrets. I'm really happy with it. It's super quiet, and eventually I'm gonna get one for the other garage door. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Remember, if I can do this, so can you. So until next time, Badger out.
Wait, you're still here? The project's done. But since you stuck around to the bitter end, enjoy this bonus footage of me taking an angle grinder to the old haunted overhead opener. I need to break this thing down into trash bin friendly pieces anyways. And honestly, what's a DIY garage project without a little gratuitous spark action to close things out? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.